Well, I promised I was going to do this coverage. I'm a bit delayed, and I'm delayed for good reason. It's because everything was hot and heavy leading up to the launch of Libera, plus other things that are going to be happening on Monday, as I announced. But now has come the time, and I'm going to go ahead and do it and get it out of the way. And based on some of the changes I see, I don't fashion this will take too long. This video marks the very first time that I'm doing actual coverage on the project everyone knows as TITANO. TITANO.finance on the Binance Smart Chain. For those that don't know the back story on why this is the first time I'm covering this token, everybody pretty much grants that the TITANO project was one of the first to think of the idea of the unrealistic APYs against a rebase token. So we pretty much accept that they are kind of the originators of the basic concept. However, many cucarachas and others have shown up and they've taken the formula and they tweaked it to meet their own needs. The challenge I've always had with TITANO never had anything to do with the project, the code, the token, none of it. That's changed, but suffice it to say, I have never had a problem prior to now with the project. My problem has always been with the devs. For those that don't know the story, the quick and dirty of it is, TITANO is currently on a V2 of what it was. When it first launched, it got unreasonable jumps, crazy popularity because it had the unrealistic APY. All of a sudden, we see an announcement from them on their Medium that they stole millions of dollars from one of their whales, who apparently had bought in at like $16,000 because they trusted it, presumably, and it skyrocketed to unreasonable levels. This person ended up with millions, and then they were just basically taking what they had earned rightfully. The devs saw that this was causing harm to the other investors because the liquidity was at risk, because they basically couldn't afford to pay this person, because they didn't plan on, with whale management strategy, on being able to manage and mitigate against such a thing that they had to know was going to be a risk with such a high APY. So instead of actually making it right, what we were told is that they stole the money from the whale. They blacklisted their wallet and stole their money. And what I was told is that the community was very pissed off. I was rather bothered because it sets a bad precedent. The whole thing about cryptocurrency is that you can never know when a crypto is going to go crazy wild. Take the SAFUU with the car salesman. It launched at $10. So if somebody had the wherewithal to toss enough money at it, they would have been made a millionaire when it got to the $330 peak. Now, it's not been able to sustain that unreasonable level of growth. The point is that it probably made a bunch of millionaires, just like Libero made a bunch of millionaires. These all make millionaires, and it's normal. TITANO's the only one I'm aware of that stole the money from the millionaire whale that had rightfully put their money in there. So this appeared to harm investor sentiment. Many other people in the community were not happy about this happening. I was bothered because of the precedent that it set. The TITANO team on their Medium announced that they were going to do a V2, and one of the things they were going to try to do with the V2 was to renounce the ownership of the contract. And in their own words, they said that they were basically going to renounce so that they no longer had to own the responsibility of making that decision in the future. This told me that these idiots did not want to take responsibility and do it correctly. And just to clarify what correct is, because it goes into my coverage today, correct is where you don't just arbitrarily act like some deity and make a single-handed decision that affects a whale who put their money in there. That's what should not have happened. And you own the fact that you should not have made that decision. You figure out how to get that person their money back if you haven't already. That's how you own it, not duck it by going to a V2 and renouncing it, which gives you an excuse when there's a problem, because now you say, well, it's renounced, can't do it. They never own that accountability. They never own the responsibility that is theirs. They just ran for the responsibility and created a V2. And again, they said that it was going to be renounced in the V2. I didn't independently verify this is true. I'm taking it on faith that that's what happened. So what I'm reviewing, that's why I said it steals into, what I'm reviewing is under the auspice that it is a renounced contract. And I saw immediately major issues to the point I'm going to have to start this one backwards in order to kind of put it all together. So I'm going to start with Market Move. If you know Market Move, it's my favorite tool to evaluate Binance Smart Chain contracts because it has a built-in AI-based audit that can evaluate the contract for any glaring issues that it may find. Market Move swears that this is a scam. It doesn't say that, but it might as well do because here's what it says. Basically, there's the holders of the supply. The owner wallet holds 13% of the circulating supply. When I went down to check about the ownership, it says that the ownership is not renounced. Now, I know in their medium, they said that it was going to be renounced. It cannot obviously be both, so I was curious. Okay, it's either renounced or it's not. You said you were going to renounce it because you don't want the responsibility of stealing money from that whale. So did you actually not renounce it, or what the heck's going on here? And I went back to their Medium, or tried to get back to their Medium site to see what the heck's going on. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the exact article anymore that talked about them stealing the money from the whale and them proceeding to renounce the ownership of the project. So since I couldn't immediately find it, I decided to go back and dig a little bit deeper on Market Move while I tried to find it. Market Move says that this is not renounced. Owners can do whatever the heck they want to do, and the owner happens to own 13% of the supply. The liquidity is completely unlocked, and there's a significant amount in there. So one of two things must be therefore true. It's either that if they did not renounce the contract, that means that anybody can take anything and this can crap at any time. It means that it's at huge risk if that's the case. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt though, because it didn't make sense. None of this made any sense. They swore, I remember reading the article, that the part of the reason that they were doing this, stealing from the whale, was doing the renounce was the whale and not having to have the decision of stealing from the whale. So I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here. I went to the Medium again to get the contract address that they said was the new contract address. I compared the contract address to the one I'm screening in Market Move. It is indeed the same address. So this is indeed the V2 contract. It is not renounced. Not only is it not renounced, but the owner wallet holds 13% of the supply, worth roughly about $8 million. The top 5 holders hold almost 20% of the supply. The top 10 holders hold 20% of the supply. That's a lot of supply. And of that 20%, the owner is 13.5% of the supply. I don't know what it would take, and I'm pretty sure nobody would listen to me, but I'm going to put this out anyway. When I see the holders holding that much supply and the owner wallet being basically the greatest chunk of it, and seeing that the liquidity is completely unlocked, I start to question why there's so much confidence and faith and trust in this project. I'm assuming it's simply the FOMO effect. People that they see the candles and they're going to just go after it because whatever. That's fine if that's what they want to do. I don't personally support it. Based on what I'm seeing, I don't support it. Now, a little bit of history here. TITANO's had problems. TITANO was hacked before. They were able to recoup the money, but the problem is there was an issue in the contract that enabled this stuff. So now we got all this smoke. We've got the hack that happened. They got the money back, but then later, this whale, they stole the money from the whale, and I'm assuming they didn't give the money back to the whale. And I don't know with this V2 because it does not appear to be renounced, and a whole bunch of holders, a whole bunch of money that can just crap it out. I'm not sure if there's something missing. So I dug a little bit deeper. the site has changed from the last time that I looked at it. The site now claims that the only way that you can purchase this dude is through either bogged finance or through their own decentralized swap dude. This is odd. It's odd that you would not support PancakeSwap because it's Binance Smart Chain and it's kind of the default. And if somebody else creates a liquidity pool, which somebody did, it allows them to exploit the price and basically print money in a sense, which somebody has done. So, okay. Now, as I look at this whole business with this bog swap, I'm not really a fan of the bog swap myself. I don't use it hardly at all. But I went and did an analysis on the liquidity pool for this. I'm assuming it's bog swap. I can't tell if it's their DEX or bog swap. It's one of the two for the liquidity pool. And I see the price behavior is just a bunch of sells. There's more sells than buys. This is immediately after the V2 launch, mind you. So immediately after the V2 launch, I see a bunch of sell behavior, and it doesn't look like Rebase is doing anything. It doesn't look like it's stabilizing. Just a bunch of sells. The volume is rock bottom. It's like 500,000, 600,000, nowhere near what I would expect. The wrap BNB in the liquidity pool is extremely low. The amount of TITANO is extremely low. 271 million is not a crazy amount that I would expect because the total supply is 2 billion. So if you're 2 billion TITANO and you only have 200 million in the pool, but yet there's been a bunch of sells, like that makes sense. But then your wrap BNB is low, but if there was a bunch of sells, your wrap BNB should be much higher than what I'm seeing. I mentioned that I was going to look at the liquidity pool and see if there was anything odd. I personally am curious why the liquidity pool is allowed to be as low as it is. And this was built on April 22nd, and I'm pretty sure that would have been the V2 migration date, because I'm trying to do, again, give them the benefit of the doubt here, because the numbers don't make sense. It almost seems like something's wrong. Like if I'm looking at it, it feels like something's wrong. The risk is higher than what I recalled from V1. In V1, we saw TITANO get to like 20 cents. In this one, it's down to like a penny. Now, I know some of this would have been people dumping to buy into Libra, so that's granted. But even if I go back to before that launch, there's just major sell pressure, especially the last 2 days of April. There was nothing but major sell pressure. And I'm wondering what's causing this. Now, I have not gone to their telescam, nor do I intend to. All I'm doing is going off the site and the behaviors I see. In summary, here's how it breaks down to me. They made the change to V2. I can confirm that happened. They went through a CERTIC audit. That's fine. The CERTIC audit didn't come back great. It had some issues. Nothing I would consider super major. And it appears to be the V2 contract that was audited. And that's available on the site. However, Market Moves Audit claims that no, this is not renounced, the liquidity is not locked, and the number of people holding the vast majority of the supply is significantly high to where there's a risk that this dumps. It's at pump and dump risk levels. Like it's arguably worse in the current status of what I see. It's arguably worse than even SAFUU. And I didn't think that was even possible in terms of risk vector. How risky is it in the availability of funds, the distribution on holders, whether liquidity is locked or not, renouncing of ownership? Like SAFUU has a higher score than TITANO. That's shocking to me. It's shocking. TITANO also has the situation where the owner holds a significant amount of supply, but it's only 3% of the total. So but yet TITANO has nearly 14% of the total the owner wallet holds. It's mind-boggling. I never thought I would ever find another one of these projects that actually gets a worse score than SAFUU, and it being TITANO, which is one of the first to actually do this type of tokenomics. Now I'm thinking, is it possible that the V2 now after they launched it, that they're doing so to prepare for a dump? Because I can't think of any other reason why even now why they would claim that they're going to renounce the contract and then not do it, why they would leave the liquidity completely unlocked and wide open, why there's these 20 holders that hold like a quarter of the supply, why the liquidity pool looks like it's in hurt shape, why there's significant amounts of sells with no rebasing, fixing, they're stabilizing the price. There's all kinds of red flags on this one. And I don't know what to make of it because, again, I haven't followed the project close. I'm just saying that it looks weird. I had a theory, though. When they made the decision, which appears to have started with this V2, when they made the decision to only allow trading on their own swap and on bogged finance, this may have either harmed investor sentiment or confused people, where they're no longer actively purchasing, transacting. It's possible. I can't say 100%, but it is potentially the case because as I look at it, everything else looks technically fine. It's just these are weird data points I'm seeing in terms of the liquidity pool health, the fact that there is a pancake swap, but it's garbage, which tells me somebody independently created it to try to do buys and sells and pump the price because we're seeing that on Libra now. And the excessive amount of sell pressure on this dude, even prior to Libra's launch. So I don't think it's Libra related. And then market moves, swears that it's like ultra risky on its audit. I'm going to make the statement, and I'm sure it's going to be unpopular with the TITANO diehards, which I've never talked to, but I'm sure it's going to be unpopular. Folks, it feels like something's wrong with TITANO, and I don't rightly know what it is. I don't know if there was another whale that got robbed? Are the devs bleeding the project? Something's going wrong. I don't know what it is. This does not strike me as normal dump behavior. It almost looks like something's wrong with the contract because nothing of what they said they were going to do with V2 appears to be there. They said they were going to renounce so they didn't have to take the responsibility of stealing from another whale. But yet it's not renounced according to what I see. So what am I seeing? Help me out here. If you're in the TITANO ecosystem, help me out here to figure out what the heck's going on. Why did they back off the renounce? What happened? What changed? What's the different? Why are we now seeing that it's in the shape that it's in? I want to go back and look at some of the history of this to try to piece together from the point they stole the money from the whale to now and try to understand what might have gone wrong. I'm going to look into their various social media. Their social media presence has always been decent strong. However, there are some places that don't get answers and they got some people complaining. I'm going to look at those complaints and try to see if I can piece together what might have happened. And then I will do a follow-on video to see if I can create some sort of solution as to how did you take this, what appeared to be this good faith effort to fix it on a V2, but for some reason, it seems like you're in a way worse situation with the V2. It seemed like it made it worse. If anybody's in TITANO who agrees with me, as in it's worse in V2 and might know why, like you have more information from the interactions, I want the smoke. Comments below or at cryptotalkradio.net because I want to do more analysis. I'm now intrigued. Not because I plan to invest, and I will tell any of my followers, I recommend you don't. If you do, I treat you as a gambler. You have every right. That's cool. But until we can understand what the heck's going on with this, I can't in good conscience recommend this thing. Something's wrong, and I don't know what's wrong, and I want to help try to solve it if possible. Maybe it's not possible. So, TITANO.finance, again, if you're in it and you have some data to help figure out what the heck's going on with this thing, I'd love to hear it because as it stands, it's worse than Car Salesman's project. I didn't think that was possible, but it wasn't always like that. It was bad because they stole money from the whale, but it feels like V2 really ruined something and I don't know what it ruined or why or how, and I'd like some help understanding what the heck that's all about. So I can then do a follow-on once I do a little bit more announcement or a little bit more investigation around it, and I'll do an announcement on social media with what I find with a new video. TITANO.finance. Wow.